emotion. So in the practice of manifestation, you are asked to feel it, feel the gratitude, feel what it would be like to be in that house that you want or living the life you want. And so a study in 2001 by Fredrickson showed that positive, what we're thinking about, what we're writing down on a regular basis does affect our outcomes. I did a little thought experiment because I wanted to give a little, because if you're starting out with manifestation, the biggest problem is that even though you really want to believe it, you don't really believe it. Yeah. You know, you've got a lot of programming in there that's like, no, this isn't going to work. But you think, I'll give it a go. So like we said, start small. So I've got a little activity and I got phenomenal results from it. So I'm going to tell you my little story about that. So here's the emotion. So in the practice of manifestation, you are asked to feel it, feel the gratitude, feel what it would be like to be in that house that you want or living the life you want. And so a study in 2001 by Fredrickson showed that positive emotion enhances problem solving. So negative emotions narrows your thought action repertoires is what it's called. So your ability to think through a problem and find solutions. So positive emotions, the opposite is true. It opens up, it broadens your repertoires, it opens you up to more possibilities and more resources, enabling us to draw on a wide array of possible cognitions and behaviors in response to what's in front of us, in front of the, you know, the emotional stimuli. So that's why we say it's not just thinking it, it's feeling it that's important. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, we talk about gratitude. Now, there's a wealth of stuff out there now. So this is just one example. Emmons and McCullough in 2003 studied gratitude practices. So they got people who would journal something that's not gratitude. I think it was called Count Your Blessings Experiment, if you want to look it up. And what they did is they had 3 groups. One group just journaled anything. One group journaled negative stuff. And one group journaled positive gratitude, showing gratitude for the things that they had. And there was a marked improvement in their mood and how they felt and their well-being in the ones that were showing gratitude. The ones that were negative had negative outcomes. So it's, you know, what we're thinking about, what we're writing down on a regular basis does affect our outcomes. And then I've got some stuff on handwriting. So why do we talk about journaling a lot? Why do they say write it down? Some of the practices, there's lots of different things, you know, manifestation practices, people's different versions of it. Sometimes they'll say you've got to write it 3 times, 6 times a day over 9 days or whatever. Why is handwriting so important? So research published in the journal Trends in Neuroscience and Education found that handwriting stimulates creativity by enhancing neural connections. Now remember that neuroplasticity, it aids neuroplasticity. Writing by hand helps the brain filter information, encourages new associations. That's that changing your thought patterns and your neuroplasticity again, and connects and makes connections between ideas. So it makes you more creative, and it embeds it better in your memory. When we write, because it's motor and thought, and you know, because you're using multiple areas of your brain to do the action, it forms stronger connections and we remember things better. So that's why, you know, making notes when you're in a lesson is more effective than typing. It just embeds it better. Now this one's the mind-blowing section. Quantum possibilities. So once again, I'm not a quantum scientist, but I'm going to try and explain some of it to you. So there's been a lot of developments in quantum physics over recent years. And what they believe to be true now in quantum physics is that everything is made up of energy, including thoughts and emotions. Solid isn't solid. Now, I remember when I learned about atoms, it did make no sense to me at all that the majority of an atom is space. There's like, how can that be solid? You know?
It still boggles me. It's like, is that a chair or is it not a chair? It's just
Yeah.
space.
Yeah, well, most of it is space. Most,
Mm.
like, you know, you've got the nuclei, so it's got the protons and the neutrons in the middle, and then there's a vast amount of space. And then there's electrons in this a place where, well, what we later find out is that it's in multiple places at once, but that in this somewhere in this cloud around it, but that there's a huge amount of distance between that, and then that is building up solid stuff. It just doesn't seem to make sense, does it? You know, so
So,
it doesn't. Solid isn't solid. Solid isn't solid. It's mainly space. It's all energy. It's actually particles vibrating. So we often talk about raising our vibration because we're made of particles. We're vibrating. Our thoughts are vibrating. And we can pick this up. You know, you can pick it up. That's how they can make. You know, they put electrodes on your head and they can pick up the electrical charge and the vibrations. We radiate certain frequencies. Now, the double split experiment was probably the most mind-blowing one for me. And you can Google it to find out more details about it. But basically, what they discovered is that they were firing, I think it was electrons at a barrier with like two slits. And they were wanting to find out which slit it would go through. So they were individually, but many. And what they found is that when it went through the slits at the other side, it didn't behave like a particle. It behaved like a wave. So you can tell from a wave pattern, because if you just imagine water, if you dip your finger in, it ripples out. So if you dipped your finger in two places, they would ripple out, and so they start to cancel each other out. So what that gives is a wave pattern. So it looks different to what you would expect if you were like throwing marbles at a wall. You would get a different result. It would be direct. So they wanted to know why this was a surprise. They wanted to know which slit it was going through to create this pattern. And when they put a measuring device there to see which one it went through, it actually collapsed the wave function and it acted like a particle. So what we now know is that particles behave differently when they're being observed. So everything acts like waves until it is observed by somebody. So if you think about what that means, well, all sorts of theories have come out about that, you know, about it being like a game and it being rendered as we see it. And some scientists say it's conscious observation that creates the definite reality. Otherwise, it's waves. If somebody is not consciously aware of it, it's not there. Other scientists are like, oh, it's a measuring device. So it's the act of measuring it that makes it collapse into a particle. But whichever one you want to believe, it does show that what we understand, most people understand to be reality, is not what it is at all. You know, that everything that our conscious observation collapses reality into what we see and what we experience. So other mind-blowing stuff in quantum physics that you might not know about is the infinite possibilities. So it's called quantum superposition, which means that particles exist in multiple states at once until a choice is made or an action is taken. So when a particle is measured, it collapses into one state, which is the definite reality. And they've done this with light. In fact, I think you can see reels on YouTube and stuff where they show that the light actually goes through all possibilities, all angles, not just one beam. But when it's observed, then you see the shortest distance, which is the angle that we would normally see. But it tries all possibilities. So mind-blowing stuff. And I can't say that I understand it fully. I think you'd have to have some kind of doctorate in quantum physics to fully understand it. But also to mention the entanglement and connection. So particles can simultaneously be connected across great distances from one end of the universe to another. One particle can affect another instantaneously. So something's going on with connectedness, which is also what we sort of believe in spiritual terms, that we're all connected. Everything is connected. So there's some mind-blowing science, I think, that may leave you a bit confused at the end, but it's just to open your mind up about because I think our tangible, solid reality that we think of, it's very hard to understand how we can manifest something when you understand on a quantum level that things aren't so, they don't really follow the rules as we believe them to, as ordinary people. Certainly what you taught in the 80s and 90s in school, there's crazy stuff going on. Like, I don't know if you know this as well, but they've coded DNA. So like they got DNA and they put a film on DNA and then got the DNA to replicate itself. And then they decoded the new copy of the DNA and it had the full film on it. So like our DNA is like a storage device. It's all very bizarre. You can go down a real rabbit hole if you go into it. So let's see, we've got 57 minutes past. So I thought what we could do, we've had a real life example. Some people, famous people that talk about manifestation practices is Jim Carrey, Oprah Winfrey, Will Smith, Conor McGregor, who is a UFC fighter. So he talks about imagining and visualization before his fights. Lady Gaga, Arnold Schwarzenegger said that before he had any muscles or anything, imagined himself, he imagined the body, and before he became, is it a senator or something?
He's the governor of California.
Yeah. So he imagined that before he took any kind of steps.
Yeah, and he's actually mentioned in The Power, that's the follow-on to The Secret by Rhonda Byrne, and he was rejected so many times, no one told him to be an actor, and all this kind of stuff, and he just persisted.
Yeah.
And that's it, I think the same thing happened with Sylvester Stallone as well, he came from absolutely nothing as well, and it was only his persistence after many rejections that got him through as well.
Yeah. And Jim Carrey also was somebody who, he said that he learned, well, I don't know if he actually refers to it as manifestation, but he had a Catholic stand-in teacher or something, and she told him that if he prayed to God and said his Hail Marys or whatever, promise, that he could have whatever he wanted. So as a small child, he believed that, and he went home and he wanted a bike, and he made the promise and he did his Hail Marys or whatever. And a couple of weeks later, he got home from school and there was this brand new bike. Now his family, I don't know if you know his history, but his family were very poor. They couldn't afford it. And what had happened is somebody else, without him knowing, had put his name in a raffle to win the bike. And he won the bike without having any
kind of... And that's it. Like prayer and meditation are more or less the same thing. You know what I mean? You don't have to be religious to pray. But I meditate, so that's my version of prayer. But it's the same thing. You're visualizing. You're asking God, the universe, source, whatever you want to call it. You're asking for it. You're believing it and saying thank you as if it's already yours, and then it comes into fruition. So, if you want it, you can do it. If you're religious, you can do it in the form of prayer. Or, spiritual, you can do it in the form of meditation. But even if you're not any of those things, just visualize. Yeah. Use your imagination.
Even if you're a science atheist, which I was, I'm not now, I would say I'm spiritual. But, it's backed in science. These things work. These are gone.
It's like the law of gravity. There's the law of attraction, the law of abundance, the law of manifestation, the law of positivity. they're all scientific laws and they can be scientifically proven.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we're not
It
just
is
woo-woo and chicken.
measurable. So
Huh?
actually, before we finish, I did a little thought experiment because I wanted to give a little because if you're starting out with manifestation, the biggest problem is that even though you really want to believe it, you don't really believe it.
Yeah.
You know, you've got a lot of programming in there that's like, no, this isn't going to work. But you think, I'll give it a go. So, like we said, start small. So, I've got a little activity and I got phenomenal results from it. So, I'm going to tell you my little story about that. So, here's the practice that you can do to just see if you can. It's called the reality tuning in experiment that you can do. So it's to see if your focus consciousness can collapse reality in favor or shift an experience for you. So step one is to pick something specific but random. So it's something that you wouldn't normally see going about your day. So for example, it could be a purple feather or a fox, which is what I chose. A song you haven't heard in a while. It can be absolutely anything, but it's got to be something that you're going to remember, but isn't going to be something that you see every day. It's, you know, it's something that you would be a notable sign for you if you saw it. The step two is set the intention. Now, I actually only said it one day, but the recommendation is each morning sit quietly for 2 or 3 minutes and say to yourself out loud or just in your head, I intend to see, now in my case it was a fox, so I intend to see a fox today. I know it's out there. I expect it to appear in a fun and surprising way. Thank you, universe. So it's showing gratitude and feel excited. How excited are you going to be when you've realized that you've done your first little bit of manifesting, when you actually see it? Imagine feeling it, you know, get the feelings in there. And then, very importantly, is to let go of it then. Now, what I did on the first day, so on Sunday, I said to myself, I'm going to see a fox. The sign is a fox. And I know I'm going to see it. I know I'm going to see it, and felt the excitement. And then I found myself looking at bags, you know, as I was driving. Somebody's got a rucksack on. Has it got a fox on it? Has it, you know, how's it going to appear? Because it might not appear as an actual living fox, but it might be a picture of a fox or an emblem on something. So I found myself looking and I was like, no, let go. You've got to forget about it, but remain open, like, you know, so that you're not searching for it, but you're being observant around you. And what happened for me, so I did that on Sunday night. On Tuesday, I got suggested a reel on a video. It wasn't real, it was longer. It was about an hour on YouTube. It was about some woman talking about her spiritual experience. She'd been a drug addict and an atheist, and she was a really angry person. She'd done some bad things in her life because she was a drug addict, and then she had a near-death experience and found spirituality, and she was talking about various things. And right towards the end of this video, she said that she always felt her dad was with her. She feels his presence, but she thought she was going mad with this spirituality. So she asked for a sign. She said, Dad, if it is you, if you are with me, show me a sign. The sign is a fox. She used those words. And then she talks about how she goes to a shop and it's really busy and there's lots of stuff everywhere. And then she noticed a book. She notices a book while she's waiting to pay for the things that she's buying. And right in front of her, where she's paying, there's a book that says, Greatest Dad, or something like that. And on the cover was a daddy fox and a baby fox. So for me, I was like,
she not only got a sign, she got a specified sign with her dad. Like it said dad on it, like, you know, so it's so synchronistic.
It is. But then it goes even deeper for me. So I thought, that's it. I got my sign and was like, yay, that's cool. because she specifically used that I'd use those words. The sign is a fox, and she said that. And that this is fair to say, this is not something I'm subscribed to on YouTube. It was just something that was randomly suggested from another thing that wasn't really connected. So anyway, I was like, I got my sign. So that was on Tuesday. Then I went to visit my parents on Wednesday. And I only stayed at my parents one night. I stayed on Wednesday night and left on Thursday morning. On Wednesday, when I got there, my dad had just bought a new camera for outside on the doorstep, and he'd had it fitted since maybe Tuesday. He fitted it on the Tuesday, and he was showing me videos. It's like, look at these videos. It's because it comes on when you go to the door. So he showed me a picture, the video of my kids walking up to the door, and showed me a video of me walking up to the door and my mum early on in the day. And I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. That's nice. Anyway, I went to meet my friends for a meal, came back, watched a film with my parents, and then went to bed. And in the morning, I was due to leave. So I was getting ready, and he goes, and my dad comes over to me and goes, look, hey, look at this. And he showed me a video from that night. And at about 4:30 in the morning, a fox came to my parents' front door.
Wow.
So, and it's not like they'd normally see foxes about there. They haven't seen a fox before. And it was the one night. It was the one night that I stayed at their house, and a fox came to their front door.
That's crazy. Yeah, I know that.
So there you go.
Yeah.
So definitely try it. And it just, the more you do these things and the more you get those little signs, the more confidence, the more belief, and the more powerful you are at doing it. Yeah. So anything else?
No, just remain positive, guys, because literally you can manifest any reality you desire. So like if you're fearing stuff, you're going to manifest that stuff as well. So remove that fear and start thinking positively. Just have blind faith and reach for the moon, because you can create anything that you want if you believe.
Yeah. And if you have any doubt, I was a brought up atheist. I was very much science minded. I did biology and chemistry A level and psychology A level. I wanted to do biochemistry and genetics actually at university, but my path turned and I didn't end up going to university then. I went later. So for me, the whole idea, if you'd said to me about 3 years ago about manifestation, I would have laughed at you and thought, what a load of rubbish. So if you are like old me and that's what you think, I suggest you start looking for the stuff, because the information is out there if you look for it. There are studies on gratitude, there are studies on visualization, they're real life.
I just recommend, I'm sorry for interrupting before I forget, The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. That can come in movie form or in book form, or The Power by Rhonda Byrne.
Isn't it? If you've got
That changed my life. It really changed my life. I've had so many different copies, and I gave away every single copy because I was like, here, read this, it works, and it really does. I gave away the DVD as well. So it's like, please watch this, it can change your life. So you know what I mean? So it does actually work, I promise you. So like, look into the law of attraction, do the research. This is real.
It is. And to help you believe that it's real, what we want to do next week, hopefully, is to get some examples. So you're going to collect more examples from your life. I'm going to use some examples from my life. We're going to ask in the coaching community if anybody, the wonderful Jessica shared today, if there's anybody else that wants to share. I will find examples from famous people talking about this, where things have happened for them. And if anybody has their own experience, message in and let us know. And if you want to come on the live and tell us live about your experience, because the more we talk about it, the more that normal people say that they can get results by thinking positive visualization, feeling like it's already yours, gratitude practices, and things shift for them. The more people can get on board with it. So and to finish, Teacher Mindset Matters. So it's our free Facebook group. So join us there. There's lots of coaches that can help you. There's lots of positivity tips. There's a whole wide range of different coaches in there looking at different aspects, you know, that are specialists in different aspects of coaching. Myself and Angela there. Angela, what's your coaching?
Yeah, so my niche, I specialize in healing after narcissistic abuse, but I also offer twin flame and spiritual guidance. So any kind of self-improvement or anything like that, I can help you with. Any form of self-discovery on inner child healing, or healing your shadow, any kind of stuff like that. If you need any help in that direction, I'm available.
Yeah, and I support teachers. So if you're a teacher and you want to reignite your love or passion for teaching, but also life through mindset practices and all the kinds of things that would, you know, healing and aligned action and manifestation practices and all those things that we talk about. If you want someone to hold your hand and walk you through that, I'm your person. So message in and we will get back to you. And I'll see you next week for lots of stories about manifestation, hopefully.
Yeah. Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye. See you soon.